A beautiful morning to everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the Homes on Wheels Alliance Saturday webinar educational class. My name is Robert Wright. I'm the caravan coordinator and your host for this morning. We have an informational class today regarding essential tools for nomads and how to handle a variety of potential emergencies that are going to happen on the road. Our class structure is a 30-minute presentation followed by 30 minutes of questions and answers. We will open the chat at 25 minutes after the hour, so get your questions ready for us. Our speaker today is Gary Stevens. He's a HOWA volunteer and our facilitator for the Sunday evening virtual connections. Gary is a retired senior technology engineer from Brookhaven National Laboratories, and he also worked for NASA's Johnson Space Center. He's an avid amateur radio guy and a full-time nomad who spends his time mostly in Texas. Please welcome Gary Stevens.
Thanks for the kind word, Bob, and good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day in your nomad neighborhood. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen here. Need to okay. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to start the presentation. So today we're going to talk about practical emergency preparedness for nomads and the essential tools that you'll need. So this is mainly about mindset and essential supplies. So what is a mindset? It's just a way of thinking, the power of positive thinking, a Norman Vincent Peale book, or, those types of things. It's how we deal with stress, how we deal with problems in life. Our mindset makes a whole difference, a whole lot of difference of whether we're going to be successful or if we're going to fail. If you set yourself up for failure, you have a failure mindset, things like saying to your self-talk, I can't do this, or I'll never remember that. You're setting yourself up for failure already. So being in the right mindset is important. So let's get started with what is the proper mindset. So what is a preparedness or survival mindset? Well, preparedness is simply a state of readiness. And survival is the ability to continue despite danger or hardship. So preparedness is simply just a path towards success. A survival mindset is just following through with one's preparedness. So what are the critical elements of preparedness or survival mindset? First, we have to think of ourselves as a survivor rather than a victim. Being a victim is not going to get you anywhere. We need to learn skills before we need them. You wouldn't jump into the deep end of a pool and then say, oh, I don't know how to swim. You need to learn to swim before you get into the deep water. And you need to do that sooner than later. We need to learn from each experience. We've all gone through hardships. We've all gone through issues in life. And we need to learn from each of those and take the lessons from that experience and carry it forward into what's coming. Likewise, we need to have situational awareness. We need to be aware to what's going on. Here's this woman's talking on the phone and a guy's barbecuing, and here comes this tidal wave, and they don't even notice it's coming. We need to be aware of what's around us, what's going on in the world. That's important. We all have equipment. We all have things to protect us. We all have things that we need. But unless you train with the equipment and practice the skills, when time comes up, we're not going to be ready. here's search and rescue. They train and prepare for emergencies all the time. We should too. Things seldom go as planned, so we need to be flexible. We need to go with the flow. We can't just expect things to go as planned. Morale is a very important thing, not only for us, but for those around us. If you walk into a room with a smile on your face, chances are somebody's going to smile back. Whereas if you walk in with a frown, it's going to set the tone. We need to focus on our goals and objectives. We need to be goal-oriented and objective-oriented to be successful. We can't just go willy-nilly. We also need to be open-minded. Other people have great ideas too. We're not the only show in the world.
Excuse me, Gary.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, your slides aren't showing the proper way. I wasn't sure if I was getting the screen right, but your slides are not flashing through. They're just stuck on that one.
Oh,
Slide
sorry.
3.
Okay, they're not playing?
No, they're not playing.
Okay, so let me go
Sorry
to
about that.
So let's go back to plan B. So let me go to a different slide set. Okay, so okay, is that better?
I'm not even seeing it right now. So are you sharing the screen?
Yes. Okay, let me try again. Share screen. Okay, can you see it now?
I cannot.
How about now?
Now I can.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I'm going to catch up to where we are. Okay, so things seldom go as planned, just like this. It didn't work out as planned, so we had to go up to a plan B. Luckily, I had a plan B. What you should have been seeing was a doodle of all of these slides. If you weren't seeing that, my apologies. So morale, focus on the objectives, be open-minded, since other people have good ideas too. It's also important that we celebrate our achievements, both large and small. We need to cherish our victories. And this is especially true when we have issues, we're going through disasters. We need to be able to deal with those kind of issues. But we need to celebrate. And finally, the preparedness and survival both require time and thought to be effective. So in order to have the proper mindset, we can't rush through things. We need to be methodical. We need to be able to go with the flow. We also need to give it a lot of time and thought. So let's get into the essential supplies. So communications is, I put this at the top of the list. In an emergency, there's no substitute for being able to communicate. What I recommend, whether you have a license or not, is to go on Amazon. You can find this particular radio for less than $40. What's unique about this is it's a little 5-watt transceiver. It's a dual band, works on VHF and UHF, and it with this little radio, you could reach out and talk to somebody miles and miles away. And if once you have your license, that is, and you can also, you can get on what's known as a repeater, and you could talk, say the repeater is 15 miles away. You could talk on that repeater 15 miles and then talk to somebody 15 miles further. And some repeaters are linked systems, and you could talk statewide or sometimes cross country on these things. You can also talk via amateur radio satellites that are orbiting the Earth. But a license is required. I'm going to tell you something that's a little secret. And I will deny that I said this, but well, I guess I can't since it's on video. But in a state of emergency, if life, limb, and property are at stake, you're allowed to use any means necessary to call for help. So you could use one of these in an emergency. However, there are some models of this particular radio that also talk on police and fire bands and emergency services bands. That is illegal no matter what. What I'm talking about is talking on the amateur radio bands, calling for help, sending out a SOS or a Mayday, whichever is applicable. These links, I'm going to provide you links to all of these things. Even on the previous slide, there was a link to the YouTube video for the, well, actually, it's on the next slide. So there's a link to a free license course that I provide to the community. There's been thousands of people that have watched these videos and passed the exam. So I'm offering it to you, everyone, for free. You can go to there. This is the very first lesson. The video quality starts out kind of fuzzy. Hopefully it improves over time, but that's it's free, so you get what you pay for. Also, there's a recommended book that goes along with it. However, all of these links that you're going to be seeing today, they're going to be presented in a PDF file that you can get via a link, and it's that link will be at the end of the slideshow. So let's jump into roadside emergencies. So this is one of the kits that I kind of recommend. What I like about this particular kit is that, it has a compressor, jumper cables, it has a tow strap, and various other things that are necessary for roadside emergencies. This particular one even has a tire plug kit. There's also a few little tools and a first aid kit. Also, I was going to point out that all of these links, https:/Amazon or amzn.to, they're all abbreviated links and they're all the same. All of these are Amazon. So the important part is after the last slash. So if you remember the first one and you're writing these down, all you have to do is go for the last little blurb, and they're all micro links to these products. Another roadside kit, this is the one that I actually have, but I had a compressor already. So this is, I like the term, just in case. So this one, it has just the essentials that I thought I needed, which was the jumper cables and the tow straps, a pair of gloves, a couple of Band-Aids, a light so that if you're in the dark, and then an emergency cone. That's always a good thing. A road atlas. We're all dependent upon GPSs, and that's really great, but unfortunately, there's such things as solar flares. And when solar flares occur, all the satellites up in orbit are forced to go in a safe mode. And during the safe mode, the GPS does not work. So just like the preparedness that we do for everything, we need to have a backup. We need to have a fallback plan. Plus, on rainy days, it's nice to sit and look at the road atlas, see what's around, and plan our next trip. One of the great things that I really like is this particular impact wrench. It runs on an 18 volt, and here's the length. It runs on 18 volt rechargeable battery. Most of the power inverters, even 100 watt, I think, would probably charge this. But that's the other downside, is that you do need AC to be able to charge this. Every now and then you can see a deal where if you buy the batteries, you can get the the tool for free. But what I like about these is the batteries are interchangeable for all the Ryobi tools. If you go with the impact wrench, you also need a set of sockets, and this one will fit any vehicle on the market. And the impact wrench is especially good if you don't have any upper body strength. The lug wrenches and particularly the ones that come with cars, they're really difficult to operate. But the impact wrench, even an 80-year-old woman that's frail could probably take a tire off with one of those. You can also get a compressor if you have the other kit and you don't have a compressor yet. There's also an 18-volt compressor that runs with those batteries. So you just unhook the battery from your impact wrench and you plug it into this compressor and it works. I have this. It's fairly decent. And what I like about it is the battery works with my impact wrench, and I have a Ryobi drill that I also use, and they all work with the same battery system, and they work rather well. If your emergency kit doesn't have a tire repair kit, I recommend getting one. If you run over a nail or something like that, and you get a nail in your tire or a screw or something like that, and the bottom part or where the treads in the tread part of the tire, this will not work on the side. You can plug it, and with these tools, you can put this little plug in it, air it back up, and it can go on for tens of thousands of miles. So I recommend having one of these for emergencies. If you're not able to use it, you don't know how to use it yourself, possibly somebody that stops and renders aid can use this, particularly if you find the nail in the tire. And then you have the compressor, you could air it back up, and then you're on your way. For those of you that have a jackery, they make this plug set that or the jumper set that it just plugs into the jackery, and that will jump your car. So I thought this was a pretty clever tool, particularly if you have a jackery. But if you don't have a jackery, they also make some other devices that can jump start your car. This one's pretty cool. It's sort of like a little brick. It fits in your hand. And also, not only will it jump your car, this particular one has a power inverter, and you can charge your laptop with it. You can charge it has USB outlets so you can charge your other devices, and it has a little handy flashlight. So there are all kinds of items like this, but this one's pretty cool, and it has pretty high ratings. Everybody needs a fire extinguisher in your vehicle. If you have two vehicles, get two of them. You need one in each one, particularly if you're Nomad. I don't know if you've noticed mice. Mice typically get into the wiring, and they like to chew on it because the insulation is made with vegetable-based oils, and the rodents think it's a fuel or food source. So they start chewing on the wires, and before you know it, it can cause electrical problems, electrical fires. Having a good fire extinguisher can, save you lots of money in the long run, and perhaps save somebody's life. They're also good if you're involved in an accident and there's a fire that started because of the accident. Having one of these could, save yours or somebody else's life. So everybody needs one of these. An EMT knife. You think, well, why would I need a special knife? Okay, well, this particular knife is really good because if you notice up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little point, and that point is hardened, and that can break a window. And why would you want to break a window? If your car get swept off the road, or you have an accident, you end up in a lake and you're submerged and you can't roll the windows, you need to break a window to get out, that can do it for you. That little notch, that little V notch, is a seatbelt cutter. Sometimes after an accident, a seatbelt will become lodged. It will not move. You can't push the button. It's too tight. You can't get out. With that seatbelt cutter, you could reach over, grab that, just cut the seatbelt, and you can get out. This is particularly true if after accidents. Sometimes there are fires. Sometimes if the car is submerged, the seatbelt's locked, you need to get out. And plus, you have a handy knife for other uses. Survival gear. We need to talk about the rules of threes. In survival, there's a thing that's called the rule of threes. We can only survive 3 minutes without air. We can only survive 3 hours without shelter in harsh environments. We can only survive 3 days without water, and we can only survive 3 weeks without food. So first, let's talk about air. And if you don't have these, you need to find them. This particular, this one is not recommended for COVID per se, because it's got a outlet valve. But if you put a mask over this mask, then it would probably work. But I've seen these at Home Depot. They're particulate masks. They're designed for woodworking and painting. You can find them. They're not restricted. It's the medical masks that are restricted. But this is an N95 particle mask. It filters out 95% of the particles, just like the others. Shelter. So one of the ways you can shelter yourself in situations, particularly in the cold, is these little space blankets. They're called Mylar blankets. There are various brands. This particular one is a pack of 4 for less than $10. And they will keep you warm. You wrap yourself in one of those things, it'll retain your body heat. It will keep you warm in emergencies. It will protect you from the sun. It will there's many purposes. A backpacking tent. If you have a go bag or you're making a go bag, you need to have some kind of shelter. What I like about this particular backpacking tent is it only weighs 3.7 pounds. It's only a 1-person tent, but it's good for emergencies. Where you've lost your shelter, something happened to your vehicle, something happened to your trailer. It gives you a place to go. Emergency shelters also, in this particular one, it's like a sleeping bag. This particular one, it's like a cocoon. It will protect you from the elements and keep you warm, and it only weighs 7 ounces. So that's a good addition to anybody's emergency bag. Everybody needs a good quality rain poncho. There's nothing like getting out and changing a flat tire in the rain, or doing anything outside in the rain, particularly when the wintertime, when it's cold, or perhaps even snow. But this, a good poncho can not only be used as a protection from the rain. You can, on some of these, unfasten them and make them into little makeshift shelters as well. Excuse me. Water. You can't always take water with you. It's really heavy. A gallon of water weighs around 8 pounds. But this is an interesting little device. It's called a life straw water filter, and it's just like it says, it's a straw. You can drink out of an aquarium or a scummy pond with this thing. It will filter out everything and just leave you with pure water. It will filter down to the micron level, so it's good protection against Giardia and Cryptosporidium and other microbes that are found in wild waterways. So food. If you've got you're building your emergency go bag, your go kit, this little brick here has 3,600 calories. It's the equivalent of 3 days worth of calories. So if you're out out in the wilderness and you're something happens to your vehicle and you have to walk out, and you know you have to walk for days, this is a good thing. This will keep you alive. It'll keep you well nourished and ready to go. I
Excuse
think
me, Gary.
5
Excuse
minutes.
me. 5 minute warning. Yes, five
All right.
minutes. We will open the chat at this time. So please ask your questions in the chat and finish up. Thank you, Gary.
Okay, I'm hurrying. Okay, so this is another little addition that's really good. It's a little survival fishing kit. You know, it's so if you find yourself out and about, doesn't weigh very much, but it, you know, it's a way for you to possibly get some food if you were out in the wilderness and you come across the lake. Some food ideas. Everybody's wondering what to pack for, you know, emergencies and to keep on hand. Well, if you get yourself a box and you get some peanut butter and some whole wheat crackers, nuts, cereals, power bars, and some dried fruits, you know, canned meats like tuna, salmon, chicken, turkey, canned vegetables, beans, carrots, peas, canned soups or chilies. You always need water. Again, one person needs 1 gallon per day for water. Some sugar and salt and pepper for seasoning. And if you want some powdered, or you like milk with your cereal, then you could, powdered milk is a good thing. And these will store well. You can also buy something like a 30-day supply of food and keep it on hand. You know, stick it in a corner. You know, so you could go 30 days without any issues with this. But you do need water because this is dehydrated. So that's the problem with dehydrated food. If you eat dehydrated food and it's not hydrated well enough, it's going to dehydrate you. Okay, so first aid. Having a good first aid kit is essential. I like this one. It has the, you know, various size trauma pads and gauzes and first aid guides and some other essentials. A tourniquet. Everybody needs a tourniquet. You should probably even have one of these in your car. If you run across an accident or if you have an accident, the thing you need to do when you apply the tourniquet is write the time so the doctor or the healthcare will know when it was placed. Quick clot gauze. You know, being out in the middle of nowhere is great, but if you cut yourself, you need to stop the bleeding. If the tourniquet doesn't do it, you need to have some good quick clot gauze to stop that bleeding. Go bag and survival gear. You need something to put your stuff in that you can carry it all out with. I like this particular one. It's got the molly clips and the molly clip holders, so you can clip things on the outside of this pack, and you're not just limited to what's inside. Fire starter. Everybody needs a way to start a fire to stay warm if you have to abandon your vehicle. Toilet paper. Don't forget toilet paper in your go bag. You know, that's an often overlooked item. So personal safety. So carbon monoxide detector. That's a must if you have in your vehicle. A smoke detector is also good, but more importantly is a carbon monoxide detector. For self-defense, I like this tactical pin. It can be used as an offensive or a defensive weapon. If somebody attacks you, you can poke them with this. It's a metal pin, and it will hurt if you poke somebody with it. And on the other end, it's a carbide tip, and you could break a window if you needed to escape your vehicle. The nice thing about these is you can go on TSA with this. A compass. Everybody needs a compass to know which direction is which. I've just got a few more slides here, and we'll be done. Everybody needs a good whistle. You need one for every day. Put one on your key ring. Put one around your neck. You know, if you get lost, it'll help somebody find you. If you get attacked, it'll draw attention to you. Bear spray. This is good for both four-legged and two-legged bears, if you catch my drift. It's legal in most states, and it will definitely stop an attacker. let's see, having a good flashlight's essential. Everybody needs a good flashlight. Have more than one. I like this particular one because it's got a kind of a zoom feature. You can focus the light close up and far away. There's a couple of useful apps for your phone, the SAS Survival, useful Android apps as offline survival manual. I've been told that that's the equivalent of a Ranger manual. I also put some of the manuals in the link that I'm going to give you so that you can download them. So here's the link I promised you to the PDFs, so you can get this presentation plus some other information, plus the past 2 preparedness classes slide deck. You can go to this particular link and download them at your leisure. Okay, now it's time for questions.
Excellent job, Gary. That was very good. We were having some weird things with the videos. I'm not sure what was going on, but I was getting your slideshow a little differently on my screen.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened from our practice, but we'll figure it out. That's the fun of doing these things live. We'll start with some of the questions. Grandma Robbie asks, is the knob on the end of the knife for breaking the window spring activated, or do we have to rely on our own strength to break the window?
It's own strength. If you want to rely on the spring-loaded type, those are called center punches, and those can be found at a hardware store.
Very good. Yeah, I'm not sure. I have never, that's one item I have to pick up. I don't have one of those.
They're really nice.
Journey Life simply asked, how can we get all the Amazon links to all the items? But I think you just showed us how we could do that. And they will be on, when this gets posted to YouTube, they will be in the description on the YouTube feed. So that should be pretty much that answer. Sandy asks, Gary, can you suggest survival training videos or programs?
There's a plethora of them, and it's everything from the doomsday prepper to an avid survivalist. However, I plan on creating a website. I mean, some videos in the future. I'm going to start with this series and start gearing it specifically to nomads. Nomads have a unique situation. The prepping of the preparedness, the amount of storage. It's a special mindset. So I think it deserves its own specialized training. So I intend to do that in the future. So if you subscribe to my channel, Red Wagon Technology on YouTube, that's one word, Red Wagon Technology, and watch for those videos in the near future.
Okay, yeah, and I get a lot of questions, people asking to repost the PDF links in the chat, and Gary will do that at the end of the video chat when he comes over and actually chats on screen. He will repost that link for everybody, since I don't seem to have it on me, or I would do it. Phyllis asks, Gary, as a nomad, which of the tools you have suggested have you had to actually use?
I have used well, I was an EMT, so I used an EMT knife. And I also have used the impact wrenches and the tire plug kits and the roadside assistance. I've got the Justin bag. I've pulled out those jumper cables, not necessarily because for me, mostly for other people. However, I did go on a trip one time, and I left my vehicle parked, and when I came back 2 weeks later, the battery was dead. So those cables came in real handy.
Yep, I would agree. I think for me, I've used my tow rope a couple of times because I got stuck. So, yeah.
And I've also used, a food supply. Um, I don't know if you've ever noticed, well, I've lived, when I worked at NASA, I lived in Houston area, which is Hurricane Alley. And when I lived on Long Island, I must have been a hurricane magnet because there was several hurricanes while I lived there, in addition to tropical storms. And each one of them, I lost power. All the stores around me lost power. There were no ATMs. There were no stores open to that could where you could buy food, supplies, or anything. So having all this stuff ahead of time is a must. And I don't know if you've been paying attention during this pandemic, but going out and going grocery shopping is not at the top of my list, or shouldn't be at the top of your list. You should, when you go to the store, get enough to last for a while so you don't have to go back, because the way that this pandemic is playing out is 1 week everything is fine, and the next week there's record numbers, and you don't want to be in the store when there's record numbers of people spreading this virus. So, or any other disease for that matter. So have I used this stuff? Have I have been using this stuff for years, you know, all the way back to, in the 80s and 90s during hurricanes. I've learned to be prepared.
Yep. Mary B says, thanks for a great presentation.
Well, thank you.
Mimi says, thank you, Gary. I know that using bear spray on humans is illegal in some states. Do you know of a good site that's aggregated that information?
Um, you just have to Google, for the state laws, for the state. I would just, whatever state you're in, I would Google, bear spray and the state name, and it's going to pop up near the top. However, there's the law, and then there's reality. If somebody's got a gun and they're coming after you, or a knife and they're coming after you, would you rather face a jury for using bear spray, or would you rather be in the morgue? So that's my feeling on that.
Very good.
And you could always just say, well, I thought it was a bear attacking me.
Yep. We've posted the link up for the PDFs, so it should be in there for you to copy and use. Let's see, looking for next question. Michelle K. Will the impact wrench work with a lock lug nut?
You need the key with the lock nut. But the way that the lock nuts work usually is it either requires a special bit, which is usually a 1/2 inch, and if not, you can get some kind of adapter. But most of the ones that I've worked with before, the lock nut fits into one of those sockets, or the regular lug nut wrench sockets, and then it will take them off. But yes, it will work.
Very good. Mike says, just excellent presentation. Hope the video gets posted by HOWA soon on the YouTube channel, and I'll answer that. We should have that up actually sometime today, I think, if everything works out correctly. We're working on some new technology, which is why we're having a few issues here and there.
Yeah, but my apologies, because I don't know if you were able to see the doodles or not, but if you could, I thought it was really a cool way to present the material. And if you weren't able to see it, when I create the videos on preparedness for nomads, it will be there.
Yeah, it's always fun. We have, this question comes from Jamie, and she says, we know that being a nomad, we have limited space and sometimes a limited budget. What are your top 4 or 5 tools that you recommend?
Well, you have to look at, statistics. Statistics show you're likely, you're probably gonna, if you're on the road, the more you're on the road, the more likely you're gonna have a flat. And the more you're on the road, the greater your chances of having an accident. It's just sheer numbers, it's sheer statistics. But that you also know that you have to eat, you know that you need to drink water. So you should be prepared to have plenty of food and water with you at all times. You should be prepared to deal with a flat one, in some manner or another. You don't necessarily need the tools that I showed for, the impact wrench, as long as you have a lug wrench and the upper body strength to maneuver that. So you have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt. I recommend these others mainly because I know there's a lot of women that are nomads, and it's quite challenging to change a tire. Heck, I consider myself a fairly strong guy, and sometimes it's a challenge to break the lug nuts, because the guys at the shop, when they put these tires on, they use impact wrenches. So, and they're torqued down to a particular amount of torque, and it takes some significant strength to break them sometimes, particularly if they haven't been loose in a while.
Yes, I would agree with that. Even I have had issues with that. That's my tip, is always don't jack up the tire yet until you loosen the lug nuts, and then you can jack it up off the ground.
Yeah.
Use the
However,
ground as some leverage.
However, that if you don't need, if you have the impact wrench, you don't have to worry about that.
Exactly. So it's always
But-
good to carry tools.
But Jamie, if you're on a budget, you have to prioritize. And I would use the rule of threes to prioritize your, apply that to your budget, and look at those needs. You have to consider those factors.
Yep. H says, "Thank you, Gary. You always have something knowledgeable to share."
Well, thank you for the kind words.
And let's see, Lisa B says, "How much does it cost to get a ham radio license?"
The ham radio license is $15. The course is free, so it's your time plus the $15 for the exam. And actually, the $15 goes to the processing of the paperwork. The license is really free, but the FCC makes those who administer the exams take the $15. It doesn't go for their time. It goes for the administration and the paperwork, the postage, those kind of things to get the license processed.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
And all of that is covered in the course.
Sounds good. We'll have to take a look at that. Mimi says, "Outstanding presentation, Gary. Just wondering, how big a backpack would I need to fit all the emergency supplies? And do you have one to show us, or a suggested brand?" And I do know you had one on a slide.
Yeah. And a lot of that, you have to consider how much you can carry, so it depends on your frame size, how big a person, are you petite, are you a, average sized person, that makes a difference. How much weight can you carry? Can you comfortably walk, miles and miles with 5 pounds, 10 pounds? A lot of that has to do with that. So, there's a tendency in survivalists to put 20 pounds in your backpack and then expect you to climb a mountain. So, and again, unless you're trained to do that. So my recommendation is determine, or find a backpack that fits your frame. They come, most of the models come in a large, medium, extra large, and even a small. Like I said, I like the ones with the molly clips because you can clip things on the outside. And the other thing is that when you start weighing it down, go with the rules of threes. Although those nice fuzzy pajamas may sound like a desirable thing to take along with you, and your fuzzy slippers, you can't eat them and you can't drink them. So, and they do take up a lot of room. So there's a lot of factors. If everybody would like, we could go over specifically a go bag and what to put in it, and how to select one. We could do a class on that in the future if you like. So, but that's up to, I'm willing to do it if that's up to HOWA if they want me to do it.
Right. Yeah, no, that's actually a good suggestion. I just actually watched a video on that. And one of the best pieces of advice was do not camp farther than you're willing to walk out.
That's right.
So imagine that you're going to be carrying a 25-pound pack. How far can you walk? And you don't want to camp much farther than off the road.
Yeah. And plus, the whole idea of go bag is, the go bag is if your vehicle is burning to the ground, it's the last thing you grab. I mean, what you grab. So everything that you need going forward needs to be in that bag.
Right.
So,
Sammy asks, what do you think about CB radios, Gary, or the Spot Garmin or other satellite communications?
well, satellite is direct line of sight, and they don't work as well on cloudy days. Sometimes you have to really be on high ground for them to work. If you're in a clump of trees, satellite communication isn't going to work so well. I talk on the satellite with my ham radio, but I have a special antenna to do that. The Spot Garmin, those are nice if you're wanting to be found, but the CB radios, they're, what I like about CB radios is they've been around a long time, but what I dislike about them is that if you have one and you're traveling, you're going to hear a lot of foul mouth people talking, and they're, particularly if you're a woman, you're gonna hear things that you don't want to hear. Well, I hope you don't want to hear them. And two, with CB radios, I've caravaned with some people in the past, and they insisted on using the CB radios, and they would get a mile or so ahead of me, and I couldn't talk to them anymore. It wouldn't go over the hills, it wouldn't go through the trees, it wouldn't do this. But with ham radio, I've caravaned with people and could talk 50 miles apart. So that's the difference.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't ever owned a CB radio, so I don't know, but that's interesting. I would think they'd have more range, but
a CB radio is maximum of 2 watts of power, and this right here, this little handheld
channel mode 1
radio. This is a 5-watt radio. So this little handheld will go further than a legal big unit in a car.
Yep, we actually use those on the golf course because that's the only way you can communicate over the vast expanse of land,
right?
The hills and stuff. So very good.
Yeah. So the ham radios, if you see the commercial radios like the police use and the firemen and things like that, it's the same quality. A CB is, Charlie, think of it as a child's band. It's the baby of the radio world.
Right. Carolyn asks, great info, Gary. Would you be willing to do a class on suggested basic tools needed for nomad life aside from emergency things?
Sure, I'd be willing to do that.
Do you have a top 3 recommendations already?
The top 3 is a way to store water, a way to cook, and good communication equipment.
Yeah, put you on the spot there.
I know.
Let's see. Mimi says, would you suggest adding freeze-dried food water for my dog to my backpack?
Well, you have to look at your dog's nutritional needs. There are some foods that are freeze-dried that are suitable for dogs. In fact, there's a lot of things. There's actually, you can go on Amazon. I didn't put the links here, but on Amazon, there's some freeze-dried food. Hold on just a second. You know, like this is freeze-dried. I got it on Amazon. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's, can you read that, Robert?
Taco mix?
Yeah, and this is freeze-dried. Now, this is not meat. This is meat substitute. You know, it's soy-based, but you can tell I must like it because, you know, it's half gone. This is dehydrated, so you just add water. But they have other products here. They have meat or you know, meat like that. What I like about this is it's got the texture and the taste, but it's animal, or it's plant-based, so there's no cholesterol and stuff like that. So I'm trying to deal with cholesterol without medicine, so that's why I'm doing the plant-based stuff. But they have all kinds of stuff here, and they do have meat and chicken that's dehydrated, and I'm sure your dog would love it. And by the way, the name of this, it's Mother Earth Products.
Very good.
And
Lisa
another thing I like about this is it's rectangular, so they pack really well.
Sounds good. Lisa B goes back to the ham radio license. Can you do that online, or do you have to go someplace in person?
You can take the course, of course, online on YouTube, but to get to, you have to find a local amateur radio club or a group of people that's willing to proctor the exam. In order to administer the test, you have to be a amateur general or amateur extra. You have to hold that license, and there has to be 3 people present. So if any 3 people that are volunteer examiners can give you that test. I wouldn't be surprised that if a rubber tramp rendezvous, you wouldn't be able to find. I would be surprised if you couldn't find 3 people that could give you that test. However, if you can't, you have to look at the area you're in and contact some of the local clubs. But after you take the course and you're ready for the exam, you could contact me and I could help you find a place to take the test. I would be willing to, you know, if I'm in the area, I would be willing to be one of the 3.
Right, very good. Yeah, that's good information. I might have to look into that. I think I need more communication than just a cell phone.
Yeah, well, consider this. The United States government's emergency communication backup plan is amateur radio. And the idea is that if enough people have amateur radios, and amateur radios have been proven for the last century to work no matter what, there's enough trained people with equipment, then they could go in and keep things going. They can keep our country going. And that's the plan. So you could be part of that plan, or you could just sit back and watch.
Right. Mimi says, do you know of another good water filter besides Life Straw to filter more water for my dog if stranded on an extended period?
I don't know off the top of my head, but there are some filters out there. What's the filter you use, Rob?
I'll take that. I have the Sawyer water filter, and it is basically a 1-gallon bag that attaches to the filter, and then you take the filter and attach it to a water bottle, you know, like a old gallon jug of anything, and so you scoop 1 gallon out of the water, hang it, and then it filters through there, and you can do 1 gallon at a time. And it's made by Sawyer. It's excellent. Yeah,
and I think Berkey is another brand that it's if I recall, is an expensive brand, but they have really good stuff.
Yeah, the Berkeys, are they all come in that big metal container type?
The last time I looked, they did.
Yeah, see, I keep my Sawyer in my go bag because it is pretty compact. It's
Yeah.
really, really tiny.
And there's also some charcoal water bottles, that have a charcoal filter, that you just pour the water in, and then when it comes out, it goes through the charcoal filter, and the charcoal removes a lot of stuff. It
Yep.
doesn't necessarily go down to the micro level, but for the dog, a dog's digestive system can handle a lot more stuff in nature than we can.
That is true. That is one thing you have to be careful. You don't want to drink the wrong water. Sam asked, does amateur radio work under the solar flares?
A solar flare, yes. EMP, not so much. Electromagnetic pulse from a nuclear device, and if it's not protected, it's toast. So is all the other electronics equipment. But a solar flare, yes, it will still work. The satellites might go into safe mode, but yeah. And another thing that you should know is that I talked earlier about a repeater, and a repeater is just takes the radio signal from one location and broadcasts it another direction. So if you're at ground level in this line of sight and you're 10 miles away from the repeater, and the repeater's 200 feet up in the air, that 200 feet is going to go for probably a 30-mile radius in all those directions. So it extends your capability, and a lot of those repeaters they have emergency power. So no matter what happens to the grid, those things are still running.
Excellent.
And another thing that you should know is that the National Weather Service for years has relied on amateur radios. If you've heard the news broadcast, well, the weather spotters said this or the weather spotters say that, 9 times out of 10, those weather spotters are amateur radio operators, just like you and me, that have been trained by the National Weather Service and helping out under the circumstance or the emergency.
All right. Michelle K asks, do the amateur radios have an emergency alert channel?
No, but emergency traffic on amateur bands has priority. If you state the word emergency, everybody is mandated to stop and listen to the emergency.
Okay.
So in effect, every band on the amateur radio is or emergency.
Sounds good. I'm looking for one last question.
So I did see, was there a free?
Yeah, Karen says there's a free annual ham event at Roadrunner BLM near Quartzsite in January called Quartz Fest. They went in 2019 as a new ham radio operator, and they would go again, and she posted a link for it.
Okay.
I never heard of that.
So there you go. So if nothing else, you can go there to get your license, and you have a year to study.
Sounds good. Well, that's the last question. Go ahead and wrap it up. We got 1 minute. Gary, any final thoughts?
Okay. Well, this is a really diverse subject, and as you can imagine, we could talk about this for days. In fact, if you were to search the subject on YouTube, like I said, you're going to find just about everything, and a lot of the emergency stuff. The first thing they're going to do is tell you to buy a gun and put that in your backpack or your go bag, and you can't eat bullets, but then again, you can't throw a can of beans at somebody with a AR-15. So there's the truth's got to, or what's right for you has got to be somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I will be working on the YouTube channel, bringing more information to you as time permits. And if you have any questions, you're always welcome to come to the Sunday night session of our caravan, and in the 30-minute segment, you can ask questions away, and I will be there to answer.
Very good. Thank you so much, Gary. That was an excellent presentation.